Okay, so here's a question. I found a suicidal ideation, suicidal idea, uh, in a victim character is being triggered by my avoidance issues. I feel desperate and I'm scared about it because of the way it is making me feel. The part is so hurt. It does not care about my loved ones. When the part subsides, a fight part comes out that is angry. Symptom is avoidance of situations that need my attention to help ensure my survival. And of course, the rescue part comes out dynamic after these two. I believe I did not want to send this message where people could directly see it, Gary. Okay. I don't want people here to be bothered by my question. I respect that. Uh, this is, yeah, this can be uncomfortable, but let's be honest. Okay, it's here. It's here, and I'd rather be truthful and honest than add in this other layer of shame that it's not okay to talk about. And it's not okay to share this with other people because they might be uncomfortable. Like, what are we doing? We're like, let's repress this emotion under the story that it's going to make other people uncomfortable and that'll be bad. And that's a problem. Like, all right, let's take that story off. What if it's okay to talk about? What if it's okay to say there's this idea here of suicide and it's coming from a character? And now we've just taken a layer or two off. And the pleaser that says we have to make everybody else happy and everybody else comfortable is like, well, that's not true. Okay. Um, so so here's some of and I don't see a specific question with it, but um, yeah, suicidal thoughts are very common with people with trauma. Very common when you've got a painful emotion stored up, past history of pain, and the story that character wants is relief. And it's maybe tried A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. It's tried to make other people happy and make other people comfortable to get relief. It's tried to be the hero to get relief. And I'm going to try and be good enough so I don't feel not good enough. I'm going to try and uh, make a lot of money so I don't feel this shameful hate for myself that I'm really trying to get out of. So there's all sorts of compensating strategies. Uh, the idea of suicide in what I see is underneath it. I'm like, why is that there? Because there's a part in the mind or emotional part so painful and wants to be free of the pain. It's exhausted the solutions that it knows. Doesn't mean it's exhausted solutions, but it's exhausted the solutions it knows. It's tried to be good enough. It's tried to get attention. It's tried to please other people. It's tried to be a hero and a success. It's like the typical matrix world strategies of being good enough. And it said, well, those didn't work. There's no hope. I want the pain to stop. And it sees, I want to die. And so this part of the mind living in its own little bubble sees this as a solution. And if you agree with it, then you go into that point of view. A, you're in a lot of pain. B, you're in the narrative story. And C, you said nothing else works. And D, that's the solution. So you kind of, if you walk yourself into that narrative story and you're in that emotion of that point of view of the mind, of the ego, in this case, victim, hurt, that looks like reality and that looks like the only option. If you're outside and you're watching and say, wow, I can see that victim voice that's in pain. I see it's in pain. Not only does it say, I could just rather be dead, but I see a little, if you have more awareness, see, why does it want that? Why is that a solution? Why is it going that direction? It's like, because it wants out of the pain, the emotional pain that it's holding. And so that is the cry for help from this wounded mind and emotional pain. When you look at it with awareness as the narrative story, if you are in the identity of that voice and that pain, well, then it looks like we have to do this. You've kind of gone into the temptation and see it that way and believe that. Outside, it doesn't look that way. Okay. So why is it looking to go do that? Because it wants to have relief from the pain, but it doesn't know how to do that. So it's the solution it's come up with. It's not, and it's all that it can come up with at a solution, because it's not a solution oriented, let's try something else program of beliefs. That victim feeling pain does not seek out alternatives. Okay. Does not seek out breath work and exercise and other ways of relieving the pain. It's decided nothing works. There are no other options. That's its belief system. Okay. So that's kind of the conundrum that part of the mind is in. It feels hopeless. So now that we've kind of have this separate playing field for what is a suicidal thought, and that it's coming from this part of the mind that's in pain, this belief system, and it's really wants healing, it really wants out of the pain, and that it's not us. So now we have the awareness, this character of the ego wants to die. We don't. This character, the ego, wants this ending of its pain. Doesn't mean we have to take the life of this human body. They're not the same thing. So that's the possibility now is this character can end life the way it's been living it, but we don't end the life of this body. And okay, the host that's carrying this dream around doesn't have to end. Okay. So I'm gonna give you when I talk, when I have conversations with clients and we talk about these characters, sometimes, yeah, they want to die or they're afraid to die. Very typically, they're afraid to die. They want to die or they're afraid to die. Well, let's explore
It is
death.
very uncertain.
Yeah, let's explore death. What does death mean? Okay. It means the end of living that way. It means the end of the pain, and it means the end of being stuck for them. Well, what does that mean, stuck? Death is a transformation. They move, they go from being what they were to something else. So to let go of the pain is a death. They will no longer be what they were. Letting go of the pain, releasing the emotions, is a way to die. You're metaphorically, you're energetically, part of you that's been carrying all this and been doing all this will cease to be there anymore. Now, does it mean that it will cease to exist? Maybe, but it might also exist as something else. And so what I do is, like, when I feel somebody has a really dark character, part of their mind that's in a lot of pain, sometimes we'll bring in sunlight and say, let's shine light here. Let's introduce them to what transformation, because what's transformation? What would be different? What would be death? That's like, and then realize, well, I don't want to die. I don't want to cease to exist. This character has a self-preservation mode too, because it doesn't want to cease to exist, but it wants death. And so how do you do death without ceasing to exist? You do it as transformation. You become something else. How do you become something else? This character's never done that. this part of the mind, if you bring in sunlight, if you bring in compassion and you bring in love, you're like, here, bring in this sunlight to this area. Use it in your imagination, like, here's a piece of light and acceptance and love you've not experienced before that is transforming, that will change, that is a kind of dying to what used to be. This is the change in the narrative, that death is not an end, and certainly not an end of the body, it's certainly not an end, but it's the end of that narrative story. And it's the end of the way it's held emotion. And it's the end of staying in that tight little box and going, okay, let me then connect with that, in what I do sometimes, that ray of light, and write it up to the sun. Like death is a trip to the sun for some of these characters sometimes, is how I have a person take that journey.
That's very good, Gary.
How does that fit
So,
as an option?
absolutely.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Should I just write about that?
Yeah, start there. Start there as like, okay, you can die. Start treating that character like, okay, you can die. That is a transformational process. And start walking it through. This is what that transformational process could be for you, and how it will relieve you of this pain you want to get rid of, because that's the real more core story. And what is that transformation? Does it have resistance to the, because a lot of times they want to die, but then they have like, no, because I don't want to see, I don't want to die because I don't want to cease to exist. You're like, okay, you are gonna, the story is gonna die, and you will continue to exist as this other form, say, of sunlight. So you may find they want to die, but they don't. So it's like, what's the don't part? And that's part is transformation instead. So yeah, write about it. See what else you find about taking this journey of transformation that is a metaphorical death of the story and release of the emotion.
I think I can do that. I really
Okay.
do.
Cool.
Thank you very much,
Get
Gary.
that in your mind as a journey, and then, and then maybe we'll have a conversation and help it to the other side. Lots of thanks to you, Mark, for sharing that, opening up about that. Yeah. I've had suicidal thoughts. I don't think I was ever like seriously about them, but I would have them. I'm like, where are these things coming from? And what is it asking? And I began to look at it as like, that's a thought. What does that thought want to do? That thought doesn't want to live anymore. That emotion doesn't want to live anymore. That dream doesn't want to be alive anymore. And you know what? Me as the host of dreams, carrying all these dreams around, because I got a lot of them, I'm like, I don't want to carry that dream around anymore. I have to let this part go and die and move on without it. And so it's like a service to that dream to let it go. That's a service to me to not carry it anymore. But it doesn't mean it has anything to do with me taking the life of this body and this being, the host. That's not what it's asking for. That's not what that part of the mind, that victim voice that's in pain, is asking for. The problem gets, so it's something to be taken care of and addressed in the transformation. The problem is when we identify with that voice in the mind, we turn it into something else, and we start considering a solution that's not the solution, because we've misunderstood what's happening.